It starts with a dashboard that should not exist. No company name, no logo, no customer support tab. Just live numbers moving so fast they stop looking like money and start looking like weather. 3 countries wake up and the volume spikes. A messaging app in one city goes dark for 9 minutes. A gambling site in another country freezes payouts. A warehouse of stolen phones somewhere on the edge of a port finally checks in. And all of it touches your screen before it touches a headline. Nobody calls you the owner. Nobody writes your name down. But every time a seller raises fees, every time a broker shifts routes, every time a panic starts in one corner of the network and spreads to another, the signal lands here first. That is how you know what you really control. Not a website, not a server. A hidden economy that only works because millions of ordinary people never see the machinery under it. You do not arrive here by being the smartest person in the room. You arrive by lasting longer than the people who thought speed mattered more than caution. At the beginning, you are small enough to be ignored. You verify suppliers, you watch payment disputes, you learn who lies, who panics, who disappears for 48 hours and comes back with a new username and the same habits. You learn that trust is never trust. It is pattern recognition with consequences. A courier misses 2 drop windows. A vendor changes writing style overnight. A buyer suddenly wants volume nobody at that level should be able to afford. You flag it all. You say almost nothing. That is the first rule. In a system built on secrecy, the people who talk the most are usually the first ones removed. What surprises you is how normal the work feels. Not glamorous, not cinematic. Administrative, spreadsheets, escrow disputes, identity checks. Quiet risk calculations made at 2:13 in the morning, while the rest of the city sleeps under the illusion that the internet is mostly shopping carts and music playlists. It is not. It is leverage. And leverage always finds a market. The first time you understand scale, it is because something small breaks. One payment processor stalls for 11 minutes. That is all. 11 minutes. But inside those 11 minutes, sellers start accusing buyers of theft, middlemen start moving funds through backup channels, moderators start freezing accounts, and a rumor starts spreading that somebody important has been compromised. You watch a few $1 million of hidden trade start behaving like a stampede. That is the day the internet stops looking digital. It starts looking physical. Containers delayed, data rerouted, phones switched off, people stepping out of restaurants because the message they just got changes the rest of their week. From there, your job changes. You are no longer checking the market. You are calming it. Not with speeches, with selective certainty. One trusted message to the right broker. One account frozen so everybody else remembers the rules. One payout released early so panic does not metastasize. That is the second rule. Power in hidden systems rarely looks loud. It looks like timing. It looks like deciding which fire gets oxygen and which one dies in the dark. The people under you think the economy runs on demand. The people above you know it runs on confidence. Confidence that the platform will still be there tomorrow. Confidence that escrow will clear. Confidence that if somebody vanishes, the machine will keep moving anyway. You are not selling products. You are selling continuity. By the time you reach the center, the fantasy is already gone. Nobody at the top believes the myth about lone geniuses in hoodies controlling the underworld from neon bedrooms. The real structure is older and uglier than that. Layers, buffers, cutouts. People who never meet but still depend on each other. A fraud crew needs clean infrastructure. A broker needs reputation. A marketplace needs dispute resolution. A laundering channel needs timing. A data supplier needs buyers who will not ask where the inventory came from. Every node denies knowing the whole system. That is what keeps the system alive. No single person carries the entire map. Not because the map is too large, because a full map is a liability. So control becomes a different kind of skill. You do not own every layer. You influence the layers that decide whether the rest can breathe. Fee structure, access tiers. Who gets reinstated after a breach scare? Who gets shadow banned without explanation? Which regions are suddenly too risky? Which products are quietly deprioritized because too much attention is now pointing in the wrong direction? None of that makes headlines. All of it moves money. That is why the dashboard matters. It is not a mirror. It is a pressure panel. It tells you where fear is building before fear becomes visible. And once you can read fear at scale, you stop thinking like an operator. You start thinking like a central bank for a country that officially does not exist. That is when the damage becomes personal. You stop trusting clean narratives. Every success story sounds edited. Every outage sounds political. Every apology sounds purchased. You walk through ordinary life noticing how much of the visible world depends on hidden intermediaries nobody elected and almost nobody can name. Ad platforms, data brokers, payment rails, reputation systems, invisible gatekeepers deciding which traffic looks normal and which traffic disappears into review queues and frozen balances and silent denials. The hidden economy starts bleeding into everything. You see it in luxury towers bought through layers of distance. You see it in shell companies with perfect paperwork and no obvious purpose. You see it in the way institutions publicly condemn the chaos while privately adapting to its existence because too much commerce now touches the same infrastructure. Sleep gets worse, not because you are afraid of a raid every night, because your mind no longer believes in surface-level explanations. You hear that a platform crashed. You do not think bug, you think pressure campaign. You read that an account vanished. You do not think moderation, you think negotiated sacrifice. That is the cost of staying inside the machine too long. It teaches you that almost everything is managed. And once you learn that, innocence does not come back. Eventually, the system stops needing your hands and starts needing only your judgment. You approve less, you say less. You move one threshold and watch 5 countries feel it without ever hearing your name. Sellers complain about new friction. Brokers complain about delayed flows. A cluster of accounts disappears. A new route opens somewhere else. The market absorbs the pain and calls it stability. That is the final rule. If you control the hidden economy long enough, the goal is no longer growth. The goal is survivability. Not being seen, not becoming symbolic, not giving the outside world a single face it can point at and tell itself the problem has been solved. Because the truth is uglier than that, the economy was never hidden because it was small. It was hidden because it became useful to too many different people for too many different reasons. And once enough money, fear, data, and convenience pass through the same invisible corridors, the system stops feeling illegal and starts feeling structural. That is when you finally understand what sits on your screen every night. Not a black market, not a secret club. A parallel layer of the internet that survives every takedown by teaching the visible world to depend on the same logic. Friction, access, reputation, control. Somewhere tonight, a beginner is opening a small account and feeling powerful for the first time. They think the hidden economy is about speed. They think it is about money. They think the people at the top are reckless. They are wrong on all 3. And by the time they understand why, the machine will already have made room for them.